What's up, everybody? Shauna D Man here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are having yourselves a great weekend, depending on when you are watching this particular video. Hope you guys are doing great. We are going to be talking about some VTubing. So, let me see. This particular video was from about a month ago by Depressed no Usagi, if I said that name right, and it's the absolute state of VTubing. Now, I didn't even know for a certain amount of time that VTubing was even a thing, and I maybe have like saw it on random TikToks or YouTube, but nothing that really interests me in checking out until I came across people like Kirsha, Leaflet, Powder, Ember Paradox, and many VTubers like that. Now, Kirsha, I believe I remember Kirsha because around the time I started to notice her was during when all these dummies and retards online were trying to cancel her, and that whole saga. That was the first time I came across Kirsha. Leaflet, I'm trying to remember where I came across her. I know it was YouTube. I think I was just scrolling through and I just saw some funny clips, compilations of Leaflet that she has done over the years. And that's how I came across her. Powder, I think Powder I came across on X. Most of them I would say I came across on X. And I like a lot of their stuff. They're all very funny people, and so I wanted to dive in, check out this video because VTubing is interesting. Because when it comes to VTubing, I've seen different things about it. Like you'll see people like I mentioned, Kirsha, Leaflet, um, so on and so forth. Like those who basically their whole identity is the VTuber. You don't really see anything about it. You don't see their face. I see their hands, but that's basically about it. But then I'll come across and I'll see VTubers who do both VTubing, but also in real life streaming. So I was always like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why don't you just do in a real life streaming then? Why even use a VTuber model? But a lot of this has got me like pretty interested too, because the past couple of weeks I've been doing videos covering Leaflet, particularly involving with this budget AI system that she made for VTubing models and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what, this is interesting. I think Smog Lana, who I like as well, I think she reacted to this video a couple of days ago. I didn't watch all of it. I just watched I saw the title. I was like, oh, this might be interesting to check out. So we're gonna check this out, and it's pretty lengthy. It's like 30 minutes, but yeah, we'll see how this goes. Let me bring it up here. All right, so as you can see here, it is done by Depressed Notasagi. I guess if I said that right. This was uploaded about a month ago, so we're gonna check it out and see what this has to say. Make sure. All right.
VTubing is ruined. What happened to VTubers? Why is VTubing so negative now? It's a sincere question that you might have asked, especially if you came into the industry back in its early establishment. And it's a question laced with negativity, usually. If you've been around since like 2020, 2019, you might have a fond memory of what it represented. It was a time when it was magical, it was fresh. Everything was glittering with inspiration and creativity. You felt emotions you've never felt before, a space to enjoy and escape from the real world that was breathing down your neck. But now, well, it just seems like many places are on fire, and it's hard to ignore the screaming in the background. And it's usually the same cycle. First comes venting, then callouts, then vague posting, then politics, high school level drama, every single week. It's gotten to a point that I'm getting tired of it. Me, A fucking slop-eating, slop-making retard. We have VTubers themselves.
Wait, what did that say? All right, was ENVTuber, was that English? All right, was ENVTuber Twitter always filled with so much negativity? So, real quick before we get more into the video, this whole VTubing is not a community. A lot of people I will see online, particularly the type of VTubers or people who claim to be VTubers, that are more politically, let's say, aligned to the left, often refer to the VTuber community, which it doesn't seem like there is a VTuber community whatsoever. Now, maybe somebody has a different opinion about that. If you can drop that in the comment section below. But generally, I don't believe there's a VTuber community. Not only that, we've kind of seen this type of thing before, where I guess a good example, it's like Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, DC, whatever. There are times where when you allow certain people in, when you don't gatekeep your stuff, when you allow certain people in, they eventually will seep in and try to take over and reshape everything that you created, that you built. I've kind of seen that with the VTuber community, where you'll have people come in, play along at first, but then all of a sudden they'll turn around and be like, "Oh, you shouldn't be a part of this community because you say such awful things." When in reality, that person was the person that you're accusing that of has been a VTuber, a Star Wars fan, a Star Trek fan, a lot longer than you. And that's it's one of the issues. They come in, they infest, and they try to take over something that they didn't build themselves. They're stealing the work of people who built something and trying to pass it off as their own. That's kind of where the whole VTubing community thing comes from, in my opinion. It's not really a community. It's people who've come in, trying to take over, and now want to call it a community. And when in reality, it was never really that. Like, I mean, you could be a VTuber and do your own thing, have nothing to do with the other VTuber um, individuals.
Themselves, reminiscing about the good times, pondering what happened. Somewhere in 2020 and 2026, a poison was dropped in the well, something that cascaded the industry into this messy dumpster fire that, despite its many ups and downs, many people still call home. So, what happened?
I'm curious.
But before we continue, may I interest you in other videos not meant for the peasants to see?
I like this.
In that case, I'd recommend you join my channel memberships or my Patreon. We have monthly exclusive banners in there as well as uncensored versions of certain content.
Interesting.
All ad-free. And besides, you help me keep creating bangers like these in the long term with your support. So if you have some spare change for a cup of coffee every month or something, consider giving it to me instead. Anyway, that's all. Thank you, and let's go back to the video. Let's make things clear first. Since 2020, where a lot of traditional fans became fans, the scene has always been plagued with a lot of negativity and drama and tribalistic behavior, especially from Hololive fans and Nijisanji fans. During those days, stuff happened, like Yozo Ramel harassed in the workspace.
I'm gonna be quite honest. This person is probably going to drop a lot of like names of VTubers or stuff like that I probably have never came across or never even heard of until this video. So it's gonna be interesting. So I may look a little lost with some of the stuff he said, just because I'm not too much into the VTubing space, as I'm just gonna put it, to really know the ins and out. I only follow specific VTubers that I like, or I tend to have more in common with. So it's gonna be interesting. Maybe I'll find some that I like.
Ano Aloy's graduation exploding in Hololive's face. Capcom intentionally targeting Hololive for not getting proper permissions for their games. Hololive fans being skeptical of English, the Keryo Coco Taiwan incident. Hololive China being dissolved and the political shenanigans that came from that. Mori Calliope's lean in.
Wow, this sounds like a lot. This sounds like a lot. Really don't know what happened to my brain today. I'll check myself before I wreck myself next time. It's a combo of a lot of things. I need time to be on my own, figure some stuff out. I'm gonna hold off on streaming for a bit. I can be better for y'all. Big ups. For context, I hit the lean hard after the stream. Sorry, and caused a fuss where I shouldn't have. I think the surgery has me nervous and acting off as well. Please don't worry too much. Sorry, my camera's well. Okay.
Incident, Mori Calliope's Connor incident, Mori Calliope being baited by the trolls incident, Mori Calliope's Gura incident. There was a lot of Mori Calliope drama. Heck,
Yeah.
even outside Hololive, we had the voice replacement incident of Kizuna Ai, the King Yuzaka Meru versus Yuzuki Rua civil war, Project Melody's VTuber model getting copyright struck by the modeler. I could name a lot more, but most of the drama I'm gonna wager you haven't really heard of, especially the
Probably not. I have not even heard of whatever was it Mordecai? I don't know. I probably already butchered her name. I haven't even heard of anything like that. I usually tend to. I don't really delve into drama. I like to watch drama at a 10,000 foot view with a bag of popcorn and just watch the chaos. That's typically how I am. Unless it's something specific, then I might jump in. But typically, I just prefer to watch.
smaller ones, or you might even think that it wasn't that big of a deal. But even despite all this negativity, there was a massive upside. People chose not to focus on the drama too much and the negativity, including myself. Because VTubing was so magical, it incited a lot of very deep and positive emotions. It inspired so much creativity and will that the fact that there were a lot of drama was almost brushed under the rug. In this one small bubble, the positivity overpowered the negativity, even while that negativity was happening during its peak. But as the magic of VTubing slowly disappeared, as the freshness faded and the industry expanded, that positive energy also went away.
What's that?
VTubing slowly disappeared as the freshness faded and the industry
Trying to pause it.
expanded.
No.
That positive
No, I'm sorry. I thought that was Pippa.
energy also went away. The honeymoon period being over left fans roiling in the negativity that remains. But a few people might not see it that way, especially the newcomers. I hear a lot of opinions about why VTubing became the way that it is, whether or not they prefer it. VTubers focused so much on the streamer aspect
I was thinking that VTubers have become so overwhelmingly focused on their aspect as streamers rather than characters that they're probably incompatible with the 2D world now.
rather than the character part. I interpreted this as a lot of newcomers focusing too much on the business rather than the fun, becoming overall a well-oiled machine rather than an entertainer. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have tweets like this from JoeCat.
Kind of proud of VTubers slowly but surely breaking down the idol culture roots of VTubing. Showing your face, being open about having a partner, keeping the parasocialness in check. I think it's healthier overall. I think right, but I think a part of that showing your face, being open about it, and like if you want to be open about having being in a relationship, that's fine. But showing your face, if you're somebody who's like a VTuber or just a person in general who typically like, maybe has like stalkers or something like that, maybe showing your face probably isn't a good idea. And it's also too, it kind of like probably for some people, the moment you show like their face, it maybe like ruins the illusion of what the character looks like. Like look at Leaflet for instance. Like Leaflet's character model is very iconic and everything like that. Would people still feel the same way if they saw like the in real life person behind the model? Some probably would still like Leaflet regardless. Some people would probably like, oh, that broke the illusion and everything like that. So that's an interesting. Let's see what he has to say.
Saying that VTubing is becoming better because everyone is slowly shedding the idol culture parts of the medium. So which is it? Is VTubing becoming worse or getting better? Obviously, your answer will ultimately depend on factors like when you became interested in VTubing and entered the industry, and who your favorite creators are, and if you are a creator yourself, what kind of creator you want to be. And as you can surmise from the title, I am leaning towards the former, especially because I am a traditional VTuber fan who mostly watches VTubers that associate more with the JP adjacent culture rather than the English Twitch streamer culture. And from
Okay.
my thinking, I have created a model that encapsulates why VTubing has become the way that it is. I call it the 4Ds: difficulty, disillusionment, division, and drama. I think this is the loop that made VTubing the way that it is, and wherever you might have started falling into the piece here, I've noticed that it always happens in this order. So let me break it
Hmm.
down. As VTubing expanded, there became more viewers, more money to harvest, but also more competition. There became less things to try.
That person is weird. I remember the drama surrounding this particular. Oh, sorry, my mouse wasn't even on the dumb thing. Around this particular VTuber, whether or not she was getting, railed on her stream or not. That's I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But I've seen this person multitudes of times um, on X.
And innovate on. Back then, when there were few VTubers, innovation and even unique character design elements and gimmicks were easier to do because the space was emptier. There were still lots of strats and undiscovered niches, but now a lot of niches has been filled. Standing out has become a lot more difficult.
Yeah,
This bred a bit of desperation, a sense of defensiveness or insecurity for a VTuber's own content, design, and even fans. We saw a small glimpse of this behavior.
Cinder. I remember hearing some things about Cinder. The burden of proof is on the accuser, not the accused. They lied to you. Here's 10 or 1,000 pages of proof.
From multiple big VTubers when the Cinder incident happened. When VTubing became big, it started to get more difficult to create content that could retain your viewers while also attracting more. This might not be the case for a lot
Iron
of the
Mouse,
bigger
I know
already
that one.
established creators, but it
But
is the case for most of the creators that
yeah, that is
wanted to
Iron
climb
Mouse.
the ladder, and believe me, there was a lot.
I don't watch Iron Mouse, although I find the way she reacted to neverness to everness a little, but that's beside the point.
Without the support of something like Hololive, how the hell were you supposed to grow your own brand? This was when a lot of new agencies popped up, led by people with mysterious background and probably almost zero business experience. And they promised you a little bit of what Hololive does, but without the glam and pre-established numbers. Some VTubers join these agencies, but normally they are short-lived because a lot of them collapse in the most miserable yet spectacular way. It's
Didn't one just oh didn't one do that earlier this year or last year? I forgot what it was called, but he's probably going to talk about it. But I remember there was like a big one that people were talking about that like started collapsing and they couldn't pay their creators and stuff like that.
a miracle if they just died peacefully and, without drama. Whether these incidents happened because the CEO was a sex pest, or the genmates were schizophrenic that it ruins the company from the inside, or, maybe just the simple but innocent CEO is not that good at business. Lots of things could go wrong behind the
Yep.
scenes, and it could genuinely affect how some of these VTubers see the industry. But let's say you're just an indie that didn't need an agency but needed a bit of help. Perhaps the aid of a third party company or solo managers was the way to go. But then turns out you end up being scammed or being sex pested.
Oh
Seems
God,
to be a common occurrence here for some reason. But when agencies and companies weren't enough, some people started to do
there is. He may touch on this at a certain point too. I do. I don't like. I don't like VTubers who, or I guess no. I've been saying. I guess for this specific video, since we're talking about VTubers, I'll specifically stick it to the VTubers. I don't like VTubers who just use their stuff just to promote like their OnlyFans and stuff like that, or like their adult content. I don't know. I find that a little tasteless. I find it weird. Like I don't know who somebody did that the other day. They were doing this thing. They were doing this trend where they were like show their VTuber model and then show like an in life photo, maybe not of their face or anything like that, but like of their body. And there was one that let me see if I can. Find it. Where you at? Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. Let me see. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, here it is. This was by I don't know. Like I'm not hating. I just find it weird that you could have probably chose. Sorry, I thought I found it, but I didn't. I'm not hating, but I just find it weird that you chose like a picture of you in like lingerie as like in real life. Where you could have just done like pajamas or something. I don't know.
interesting things.
Just
Without the
just my
support of
thoughts.
an
Just my
agency, the
thoughts.
strat for a lot of VTubers was to be active on Twitter and engage with fans and nerd stuff before debuting themselves. At first, this was a success, with one of the more notable examples being Artemis of the Blue. But then some of these people started bitching and whining about the
Okay,
lack
that's okay. All right, seeing VTubers who joined this month overtake your 6 months of effort in 1 week. I mean, I support people, but this kind of makes me want to cry, especially if the design looks absolutely bland. I guess I will have to start jumping trends, which I hate. I can understand that to an extent, especially like if you're somebody who, let's say, you made a video talking about Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Let's say you made a video talking about deck combinations for the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and you get like, let's say, 100 views on the video. Okay, and then somebody comes along that does the exact same type of video, and then they get over 3,000 views. So I can understand where that comes from. When that's kind of frustrating, when you put in the work and make pretty like what you believe is pretty good content and everything like that, and it doesn't get noticed. But then if somebody does the same type of content, they automatically get noticed. I can understand why you could get a little eh.
of success instead of actually streaming and putting effort and researching what they want to do. These permanent debut TBA creators would be called V-tweeters, and I mentioned them because a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
them
I forgot about V tweeters. V tweeters are essentially people who don't even, I believe, don't even have AI models. They just have maybe like a image for their profile pic. They're not streamers or anything like that. They're just people who are on Twitter.
negativity and drama that happens in the industry is on Twitter and is caused by V-tweeters and tweets in general, regardless if they were V-tweeters or not. But some of them actually started grinding, and some would even implement a few less than ethical tactics. At
Oh,
first, it was relatively subtle, like copying design elements, sometimes intentionally to leech off of one of the popular ones, sometimes unintentionally. Not to leech, but because they found it to be a cool design gimmick or because they looked up to the VTuber, or sometimes two different minds just come up with the same design or gimmick at the same time. But then it
interesting.
started to escalate. People started aggressively collabing with other VTubers, not to foster friendships, but to borrow their platform or organize their own network,
Oh
having their
yeah,
fingers on a bit of everyone's pie. They would pretend to be fans or supportive, slowly worming their way to that creator's circle, pestering them, not really even considering them as friends, but more so jumping pads just so they can leech off of them a little
yeah.
bit.
Just basically just using people to like push your brand and push your content and stuff like that. Oh, I hate that. I hate those type of people.
It. An entire discussion even appeared on Twitter about this, on whether or not collabing should purely be a business decision or something you should be able to do with just your friends. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong. Like I do collabs with, like here on the channel, we have the Nerd Talk podcast where we do collabs with cosplayers, and they come on and talk about their cosplays, and in return, I do what I can to financially compensate them for coming on because one, they're coming on to support this style of content, and obviously, I am giving them a platform to talk about the things they love, such as cosplaying and stuff like that. So
But it does speak to the intentions of many VTubers and how they appear on stream. Because to a fan, how do we tell who are real friends versus who are just collabing to
Yeah.
social climb and rub shoulders with bigger content creators? It got to a point that even big creators started complaining about how
All right. I don't know if I'm just old school, but what's up with VTubing Spaces being so open about being leeches and only looking at other streamers as connections and literally stepping stool for growth? Back in the day, y'all would have gotten shunned for that behavior.
used they feel when they became victims of this. But VTuber wannabes weren't the only parasites, there were also Twitch e-girls. Even e-girls and Twitch streamers were using the VTuber
Yeah, yeah. I didn't. Well, it's an awkward play. Yeah, yeah. You kind of see it too with outside of VTubing as well. I mean, like what's being spoke about here, because I remember who was it, Kai Sinat had like Kevin Hart show up on his stream and stuff like that, and it's just kind of like that's pretty weird. Like a celebrity like that, I feel like I felt like that was like a plant, you know. But yeah, that I have to do a video talking about Twitch in general. Twitch is a messy place, but yeah, what is like anime VTuber hype train? You have done nothing that that is even close to VTubing.
tag on Twitch at one point to capitalize off of the rising trend, which gave way for a lot of these e-girls to try their hand on the medium, without really even understanding, appreciating, or participating in the culture. But if that wasn't enough, they'd repost memes, copy paste and recycle engagement bait strats. And look, I respect it. I like reading through some of these trends and engagement baits myself, but some of them can get a little too weird for comfort. It could be vague posting about something, it could be a rage bait, it could be sympathy bait, or even virtue signaling.
Yeah,
Sometimes
well, especially the way X is, which I think they're changing their monetization, how that goes about. But people will would basically rage bait, tweet stuff out that would cause a rage bait for the financial engagement from it, and I'm just kind of like, stop it. I can clearly see you're just rage baiting.
they'd even join trends that are usually a
Or
guaranteed
engagement.
attention magnet like art raffles or more notoriously, VTuber versus IRL, who started off innocent enough and still in line with the medium, but then they started to integrate actual flesh posting. And the moment this happened, it became a bit of a slippery slope. Because then a lot of indie VTubers started to not just stop on the VTuber versus IRL trend, but started to integrate their bodies and faces as part of their regular content. And I'm not talking about the occasional hand cam or walking streams, I'm talking about IRL. I say this
Yeah, like I mentioned at the beginning, like uh Kirsha a while back, she did like a stream where like you could clearly see her hands, but just her hands, and she was like trying different cheeses and different meats and stuff like that that her chatters uh, sent her. Um, Pippa, same way. She did a video a couple of months ago where she was eating Ukrainian MREs, and again, just her hands. Leaflet does the same thing when she's showing off her guns or opening packs or something like that. But Leaflet kind of wears like long sleeves and gloves. You don't really see her hands, like what her hands actually look like. You just see gloved. Um, and so yeah, like stuff like that, I think it's okay. Like I don't mind that. I don't think that's a big issue. But yeah, like that person just
started to integrate their bodies and faces as part of their regular content. And I'm not talking about the occasional hand cam or walking streams, I'm talking about
yeah, whatever this is. I don't know what this is. I'm glad I think it's cheeks. I believe it's more likely cheeks.
IRL. I say this mostly as observation than judgment, but there's a lot of VTubers whose regular content, whether that be on their streams or on their tweets, aren't really even of their characters anymore, but rather their bodies, and it eventually falls into a pipeline of doing OnlyFans or fansplay content that don't even
And I just mentioned that a couple of minutes ago. Like I have no problem if you're an adult, if you want to do fansly, if you want to do OnlyFans, more power to you. But come on, don't try to advertise it like this. That's wild.
use their VTuber models porn like what many authentic lewd VTubers do. And look, I know there's a lot of weird hate against Fansly using VTubers now, and if the VTuber uses their actual
Oh yeah, because what was it? The other week there was it Off Kai? I think that's a con or a VTubing thing. They had a they had a Fansly booth at the convention. Now now the actual you couldn't actually get into the Fansly type of uh room or whatever unless you were 18 and above. Okay, yeah, they had those guardrails in place. But the booth that they had that was advertising it was in the main hall where everybody could see it. Men, women, children, teenagers, everybody can see this booth. And I remember I commented on it or something like that, talking about, yeah, this is in a booth, this is in an area where anybody can see it. And somebody commented was like, I don't want to say they were making excuses, but they were kind of like, yeah, but for them to actually get into the actual, you know, area itself, it's 18 plus and it's barred off, and so I don't really see a problem. The problem is Fansly is a adult sex site, whatever. You still have it in the open where anybody can see it. A lot of teenagers have phones nowadays. Okay, a lot of young kids have phones nowadays. What if a 10-year-old with a cell phone is just walking through that exhibit, sees sees Fansly, and has the website that you can go to? Oh, what's Fansly? They look it up, and boom, automatically that kid is introduced to porn right then and there because of you having this booth in a location where anybody can view it. That's the problem. If you didn't have a booth, if you advertised it on the website, to where if like when you go buy tickets, to where only basically you have to be an adult to buy tickets off the website anyway, to attend a con or something like that. Okay, that's fine, because then oh, this is going to be there. Let's make sure we try to avoid this particular thing. That's the problem I had with it.
VTuber models or just art of themselves, I think that's fair game. The occasional flash posting to me is okay, especially cosplay related ones, even if it's not safe for work, especially if you've been upfront about your content, and especially if that was the natural pipeline for your career, like if you were a porn VA, for example, or a VR chat streamer. But I think if your regular content and your NSFW is just your IRL, especially with your face attached, and you market yourself as a VTuber, I would be inclined to think that in large part you're not really a VTuber. Of
Hmm.
course, there are exceptions, especially when you're categorized as a live streamer who happens to have a VTuber model like Onigiri and Kason, but it's hard not to think that way. And the
Yeah.
thing is, this trend is not exclusive to Western VTubing, as much as a lot of the whining traditional fans like to believe. Many indie JP VTubers actually exploit this as well. If you use the godforsaken site known as Twitter, you might have seen a lot of these. A lot of VTubers bouncing their tits and showing their full naked bodies, and it gets them lots of views.
Yeah.
Goonbait is and always will be a tried and true method for catching attention in the internet. But perhaps on a VTuber's last attempt to find viewers, some take on one of the bigger gambles, breaking what used to be a big taboo in VTubing: political commentary. You see,
Yes. When it political commentary. Ugh. Maybe I should do a video for Patreon about that. Maybe we'll see.
traditionally, VTubing was supposed to be non-political. Like, there was nothing about anime e-girls that was supposed to reflect real-world current happenings. It
Yeah.
was supposed to be a place for escapism. You don't fucking preach about BLM and fuck ICE whenever you're live or you're tweeting, but you also don't preach about the fucking loss of Christian values or pearl clutch about sex workers. But as it is when niche nerdy things become mainstream, political people
It
come
does start
from
to
all walks and backgrounds. It's always been a
not to go back to Leaflet, but she's a good example. I remember where she was just talking a couple of weeks ago how if she would like if she did political commentary, it was like late at night into her streams. It wasn't like the whole thing of her stream. Now, obviously, that has evolved with as we see with the rise of how political things are getting within the United States. A lot more people are a lot more open about discussing political things online. But I believe, if I remember correctly, Leaflet was somebody who would gradually talk about it, but it was like toward the back end of the stream, late night kind of thing. Kirsha has, she talks about it openly on her streams. Not all the time. She does have like, but she'll bring up like articles talk about bridge, DEI, just stuff like that. Um, because a lot of people don't know this stuff. A lot of people aren't. Not everybody is political. Nobody really like the stuff you see online is not reality. Both left wing people and right wing people have this tendency to think that what just because you get over 300,000 likes and views or whatever on your tweet, that is reality, that is real life. No, that is not. There are millions upon millions of people, not only within the United States, but within the world as well, who don't really pay attention to politics. They just go about their everyday life. So Kirsha does a pretty good job on, because I'm sure a lot of her chatters are just maybe generally people who really like her content, really like her, who maybe not be as politically involved as some people are. But Kirsha is providing information to these people so that they are aware of what's going on in the political landscape. Pippa, she doesn't do any kind of political commentary. At least I have not. At least I haven't seen. Powder, I don't think Powder has. She may have. I just never came across any clips or stuff like that. Amber Paradox is a good one as well. She's a very highly intelligent person. She articulates a lot of the stuff that she talks about very well for people to understand, for people to know what's going on. And so, in life in general, politics always finds a way to seep into every little aspect, whether it's VTubing, whether it's video games, movies, TV show, books. And it does get a little dull after a while, because if politics and real life stuff is always in every little space, then what's there to go to escape from that? You just can't escape.
On Twitter, but they were largely ignored up until the big 2023, when Pikami and Silvervale were harassed by Twitter slacktivists because they dared to play the wizard game. But
Which was ridiculous. That was so stupid. I remember that whole thing. And because of people harassing others about the game, more people went and bought the game. Like, it caused more, like, it was just so stupid about how they were reacting. Oh, you're playing a Hogwarts Legacy, means you hate so and so group, means you support J.K. Rowling. Not everybody does. People just want to play video games. If you don't want to play it, fine, you don't play it. But I'm going to play it. I played Hogwarts Legacy. I had fun with it. It was a pretty good Harry Potter game, for what it's worth. But just watching the whole discourse around that was utterly ridiculous. And then it just happened again not too long ago, with talks and announcements of potentially Hogwarts Legacy 2 being in development. The same type of talking points came up with that again. It's just, stop it. Stop it.
then other communities started to form, and then other communities that were formed to counter them. It subtly started with people like
Kirsha.
Kershaw. Pipa also got roped into it. Bro doesn't want any of this bullshit in the industry and was never really part of the entire culture war. However, the identity politics crowd.
Oh, this is a lot. Let's see. Tesh, Cosmic Disappointment. To be frank, this is really disappointing, Silver. I'm going to hope this was somehow a case of being oblivious to the current situation and wait for a response. I hate these people. I hate these people. Like, they're so annoying. I liked you, but because of this, as a trans woman in England, I don't feel safe around you anymore. I just, like, stop it. Congrats on giving money to someone who hates trans people. I guess kind of an L. It's just like it's dumb.
Deemed her to be right leaning because
To be frank, this is kind of upsetting. I really love your content and you as a streamer in general, but it feels like a bit of stabbing it back. Back to all your trans viewers, I really hope you were simply oblivious to the drama surrounding this and didn't choose to do this knowingly. I'm very curious on. I wish there was a way you could look in and see, break it down on male, female. Well, no, you can't do that. You probably can't do that. I had to stop myself before I said something probably bad, but that's beside the point. Yeah, okay, so this is still referring to the Hogwarts Legacy stuff.
She hates that this poison was infesting the industry, and because Face Connect was, loved by 4chan. On the other side of the aisle, there were also multiple people making their declarations, like Uki Violetta of Nijisanji En's blatant hate for white people, and Finana's
Wait, what did that say? Oh yeah, this is gonna be a long video. I can already feel it. Low-key said I have to do this, but I'm gonna ban a word that has two definitions on my streams because it's used as disrespectful slang to describe gender, and I hate seeing it appear in chat every time I play a new gacha game or gacha. It makes me uncomfy. Please just use respect terms. Most importantly, etiquette education. Okay.
claiming that the Japanese term trap was transphobic.
Oh, that word? I've heard that word in a sexual meaning too, I think.
This happened in 2022, but whatever. A lot of these politically charged incidents slowly but surely gave rise to a new breed of political figures. Now, we have seemingly right-leaning
I love. Oh yeah. Okay. I feel like this part is going to be interesting. Let me back up just a little bit
phobic. This happened in 2022, but whatever.
because you are kind of seeing it. You really are kind of seeing it. Where how do I want to say this? Probably in the past, there wasn't left or right VTubers. Again, like probably at the beginning, like you mentioned, like they're more just entertainment purposes to help people escape from the real world. But because of political or politics seeping into everything, now it's become a thing. Now you have right wing VTubers, you have left wing VTubers. I'm curious if there's like independent VTubers. I'm sure there are.
A lot of these politically charged incidents slowly but surely gave rise to a new breed of political figures. Now, we have seemingly right-leaning figures like Powder and Leaflet, while on the other we have Nyara and
I don't like this person. Not just that. I remember watching because Leaflet did a debate with this person on stream a couple of months back, and it just seems like the Naira person really couldn't, at least from some of the parts that I watched of it. We may go back. I may do like a Patreon only video, and we may go back and just watch the whole thing, or like just chunks of it. But it just really felt like this individual could not defend what they were saying, or they would always just make it seem like Leaflet was being, transphobic or homophobic or just whatever kind of phobic.
Anna Valens question mark.
Oh my god, this one's the worst. This one is the worst. This is the one where I first got into understanding the VTuber stuff. This is the first thing I came across when it came to Kirsha, because this person made a tweet. I don't think I want to. Let me see. I'm not gonna play it for you guys. I wonder if it's still. Stop my mic. I wonder if it's still here. I don't remember where I saved it. This person is a freak. Sorry, I'm so bad at typing. Is this it? I don't know if it's gonna let me do it. It's not gonna. Oh, come on, man. Is it not gonna let me do it? Come on, is it not gonna show it for me? Oh man, oh man. It was awful. Anyway, like this person, like if you heard of it before, if you heard it before, you probably know what I'm talking about. But this person is a freak because I also remember people were talking about how they would play Fall Guys, I believe it was, and they would have like a sex toy attached to them. And I think in Fall Guys, whenever you bump into each other, um, you know, your controller vibrated or something like that. But this person did it to where like the sex toy would vibrate, and it was like, what are you doing? Because this person also wrote the hit piece because they wrote the hit piece on Kirsha. It's just like, what are we doing here? Like there are some weird people.
Sorry, I could
They're
not
like
think.
weird. It's just my god. All right.
Whatever. A lot of these politically charged incidents slowly but surely gave rise to a new breed of political figures. Now, we have seemingly right-leaning figures like Powder and Leaflet, while on the other we have Nyara and Anna Valens? Question mark. Sorry, I could not think of any left-leaning politically charged VTubers that had like a bigger platform.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
also more on Twitter, by the way. We now have lots of political commentators in VTubing who mostly just tweets about it and occasionally does a little bit of streaming or who doesn't stream at all.
Yeah.
I'd explain more of the history about how this happened, but that's worth an entire video. Y'all are gonna have to settle on a super reductive, oversimplified version. All of this combined had VTubing develop its own battleground of political ideologies. Now more than ever, talking about politics is a risky yet effective way to grow your numbers, regardless of right or left. If you're a traditional VTuber fan, it's like a landfill was forming right outside your gated village. If you go outside the gate, you can definitely fucking smell it. It's gotten to a point that even it has attracted the attention of traditional fans who normally wouldn't participate in these kind of discussions. But in lieu of the happening being outside, some feel compelled to say their piece, especially Nijisanji fans, because some members there are more politically driven than others. Though perhaps it was always inevitable that politics was going to invade VTubing. So,
Yeah.
hey, if you need a quick number or follower boost, say one of the two things. The N-word, hard R, and preach about Christianity or something, or that white people need to be cold and fuck the patriarchy, or
Yeah.
something. But Nusagi, I hear you ask, what if I'm not North American and these politics don't apply to me? Tough luck. Pretend to be a Westoid, I guess. Or maybe be racist towards Koreans and the Chinese instead. That usually works sometimes. All these strategies, from copying design elements, copying and participating in rampant engagement, sympathy, and rage bait, the leeching, the trend joining, the drama farming, we'll get into that later, and the political grifting, all scream one point. Everyone wants attention.
It's true.
That everyone, and I mean everyone, is competing hard for the limited attention and eyes feature.
I don't. I would say I don't think that's for. I don't think that's everybody. I don't think everybody is trying to vie for attention. I think there's definitely people who are trying to vie for attention, but I don't think from a VTubing aspect. I don't think it's everybody. I don't think people like Kirsha, um, Leaflet, Powder, Ember Paradox, Pippa, Smoglana, so on and so forth. I don't Celestium. I don't think these type of VTubers are out here essentially begging for viewership. People like what they have to say. And so they're going to show up to those people a lot more compared to someone who's trying too hard to fit in. Like if you're just being yourself, which a lot of these creators awfully are, you're gradually going to have people find you and start to follow you.
Has. VTubing ultimately has a cap on the numbers of viewers. The biggest VTuber that we have that is yet to be surpassed was Gargura at 4 million subscribers. That is like less than 10 times smaller than the regular community. And it's one that hasn't really moved significantly since 2020. So everyone is a bit desperate. Everyone is struggling to keep their career sustainable and is often willing to do anything to reach the top or maintain their status quo, even if it means betraying, even if it means LARPing, even if it means sacrificing your mental health. And because everyone is having a difficult time, it leads to the next D in our pipeline, disillusionment. For the VTuber side, after the usual agency experience of being abused or sex pested or even bullied by your own genmates, it might be a little hard to trust people again. But what is even harder is if the people you used to work with, like your genmates, started to actually be successful and climb the ladder. You know some of these people. They are not good people. How the fuck are they being rewarded? Another case.
It's like one of those things where you see it in like movie industry and video game industry now, people who are bad at making movies or video games always find a way to move up the ladder. They don't get fired, they don't go down the ladder. They always find themselves in a much higher position than what they should be.
What if the acquaintance or friend that
Probably a good example is like you not a good example, but I guess it is an example. But earlier this year you had Advanced GG drop Rev and Straub, but they kept somebody who was the name was it Vex? I think that was the name who essentially had f white people and all this kind of stuff. They said a lot more vulgar, unhinged things compared to Rev and Straub, but Advanced GG didn't kick them. They kicked Rev and Straub, and it's just kind of like why?
you've trusted so much that you've exposed your heart to ends up betraying you after one or two disagreements. Hell, another would be if a third party company that you hired to deal with your shit ended up scamming you. Maybe the fans you've lovingly cultivated decides to abandon you after you're no longer the shiniest girl in the block. Or
Mm.
worse,
Which
if
is
you do GFE,
which tends to happen to everybody. To be quite honest, you see with a lot of um, in real life streamers as well. Uh, you know, Pokimane, I guess, is a good example. Like, she's not the shiniest toy in the toy box anymore, and so people are going to gradually like. There are probably still people who enjoy Pokimane's content, but a lot of people are going to maybe gravitate to more of a like an Emeru or something like that. Like what I'm not saying like Emeru shiny or new or whatever, but like usually people have that habit of going to the new shiny thing that's available.
turn into an auntie after they just try to dox you and discover that you had a partner or if you did something that they did not like. What does any of this mean for a girl? Disillusionment. The magic is gone. You see the industry for what it truly is behind the scenes. Different cabals scheming, conniving, and backstabbing their way
Yep.
to the top. A bunch of immature, high school minded, and emotionally, intellectually stunted people who would dump an expose on your ass for a mistake that could have been talked out in private. A
Yep.
bunch of predatory and exploitative individuals trying to siphon as much money and clout as they can from anyone they can snake out of. This medium that used to inspire so much creative spark in you has begun to develop a negative association, a feeling that looms so heavy it makes you want to give up on this industry. And that is a very, very sad thing.
Yeah.
And if you are a fan or an audience member, it's a bit simpler. The collapse of multiple agencies you might have been a fan of, the exposés and many mistakes of the creators you've loved, the vague posting, the frequent drama that they get themselves embroiled in or started, the side comments, the questionable decisions, all piled on top of each other.
Yeah, yeah. I was too busy in Japan to see what happened in Twitter. What I meant by not safe for work, since a lot of people are confused. I'm okay with lewd. Never have not been okay with it. I just don't like seeing people F. LOL. To me, being a B, there's nothing new. I've been able to. Okay. Okay.
It plants a seed of doubt in your head, and that seed eventually grows. You just stop liking people. You just stop trusting VTubers, stop trusting VTuber agencies. That once source of boundless joyful energy from your favorite streamer group could get spoiled by one bad Google Document. Suddenly, you question if your Oshis are the people you thought they were. You notice how fake a lot of things seem. It is reminiscent of celebrity culture before the internet was a thing. People loved actors. People really only hated certain celebrities for superficial reasons like, Justin Bieber gay or his music bad. But when the internet became a thing, they started yapping, and the more they opened their mouth, they revealed how dumb, malicious, or profoundly unlikable.
Oh yeah, you definitely see that. You definitely see that, especially with celebrities nowadays when it comes to like politics and stuff like that, or even promoting their movies. Whenever they talk, they say the dumbest stuff, and you just make things work. Without work, you just make things worse.
They are. In but half a generation, their carefully crafted PR and identities got broken down online
Oh,
because they cannot shut the fuck up. Such a thing is happening in VTubing. Even VTubers that used to be uncritiquable now have critics because of the things they do or say, and sometimes it's even because of things they don't do or say. Figures like Bao, Amalie, Iron Mouse, Shiley, and even fucking Iago. Iago! While they are still beloved in the mainstream, doubts about their character had been planted already, and these doubts are no longer just living in 4chan boards and circles. They're a bit more widespread now, just waiting for their next drama so they can jump like an alligator. And whether you agree or disagree with the criticisms around them, it's clear that the tides are shifting against the medium as a whole. And I think this is just a symptom of the greater point that people are noticing. And when people notice, they do one of two things: step back or double down. Those that aren't unemployed or do actually touch grass prefer to step back. But because these are VTuber fans that are dedicated and parasocial to their favorites, and because these are VTubers that need their platforms to be alive, most industry members opt to actually double down. Thus, the next D happens: division. Every VTuber wants to grow, no matter
Yeah.
fucking what. Everyone wants the industry to improve and expand, but everyone sees how to do it differently. Old school traditional VTubers and fans prefer to keep it as it is when they joined: character driven, dismissive of drama, a space truly and purely for weebs and losers, light-hearted, usually.
A good example, and generally all of this, is Queso. He is a funny dude, lighthearted guy. You get no kind of political stuff from him. He is somebody that you can actually go and watch and actually be able to just enjoy 4 hours of him streaming and watching him just play horror video games and just video games in general. That is what a lot of people want. But sadly, because of how political things can get, you don't get many people like that nowadays. Like you just had a couple of months with Emaru, where she didn't say F ice and all this stuff, and people went and attacked her like crazy because of she didn't stand, she didn't say the words. And so some people are the people who are very good at primarily being entertainment, they're going to have people coming to find them uh, more times than not compared to people who consistently make things political or just stuff like that.
These are your Hololive and small agency fans, and VTubers and VTuber fans who's been around since 2020 or 2021. Anyone that's adjacent to the JP side of the industry, really. But newer fans want to see it change. Bereft of idol culture, no parasocialism, able to show your faces, sanitized. These people came from the Twitch and Western streamer culture. So these two types of fans see certain acts or cultural aspects differently. For a few examples, traditional fans hate the trend hopping and engagement bait and the VTuber versus IRL because it's not something that VTubers of their era would do. It muddies how a VTuber could be counted and what a VTuber even means. Whereas newer fans absolutely enjoy it or don't mind. Newer fans hate a lot of the JP sourced cultures of VTubing, such as lolly, idol culture, and even the character bits, whereas traditional fans are absolutely okay with these and even love parts of it. Traditional fans wants to keep real-world affairs and politics out of their anime girls and values professionalism and orderliness, whereas newer fans tend to value the lawlessness and wants to have current affairs follow them into their brand a lot of the time. This is VTubing's very specific brand of politics, and you might even notice that it has a very interesting reflection onto actual real-world politics. My perspective is that old fans were taken in by VTubing's very niche appeal. VTubing had its set culture, similar to any community. Its target demographic were originally people like me, weebs, nerds, and losers. But when VTubing got popular, many opportunistic e-girls as well as predatory businessmen saw a golden opportunity. And when the large influx of these people came, they chose to dismiss many of its cultural aspects and turned it into an aesthetic choice or a brand new buzzword that they can pitch to investors or something. Some of the new people coming in aren't really even weebs. They're tourists that just saw what looks to be the cool, new, fresh, hip thing, or just wanted to have the feeling of identifying with something.
Yep. Yep. And then like I mentioned at the beginning, it's not just VTubing. Like same thing with Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, DC, whatever. There are tourists, and when the tourists start to come in, they'll come in and they'll play along for a little bit, but at a certain point, they will try to change what has always been into something that it shouldn't be. And it's It's
I
crazy.
always mourn the death of a culture that were made by nerds and losers, because when said cultures became mainstream, a lot of what makes it soulful gets removed for something more normal. The
I think I've heard people also say that about anime as well. When anime become, because when I remember growing up, anime was something like you did get made fun of. Oh, you watch this stuff and all. Like you did get made fun of. Like I grew up watching some anime, but it wasn't like a real huge thing for me. But there were a lot of people I went to high school with and grew up with who read mangas and stuff like that. That was the thing, and then anime became mainstream, and yeah,
current development of VTubing is just one of the mainstream's many victims, in my opinion. But at the same time, it's not like I liked all parts of the traditional culture too. For example, while I don't mind GFE or parasocial relationships and I even think it gets overly demonized, I also think that it's weird some traditional fans hate it when their Oshis talk to the opposite sex like a Holostar or Nijisanji member. That some people engage too deeply with it or have deluded themselves into thinking that these VTubers, these girls, are actually single. The tribalistic parts of idol culture is something I don't like. I don't like how certain bad situations are often downplayed because they don't like the negative air of drama and they perpetuate this forced air of sanitation. And in relation to that, I don't like how hugboxy it feels most of the time. Some of these people actually worship the multi-million-dollar agency and treat these adult women like they're toddlers. Criticism, even constructive, is not welcome. At the same time, something that I agree with the newer fans is self expression. Being able to talk about problems in the industry is a good thing.
yeah.
Being able to do more with the concept of piloting a virtual character is cool, to a certain extent. For example, I think lewd tubing is fine, but even saying that is going to give me fierce pushback from traditional fans, and at the same time, it isn't enough to count me in as welcome in the newer fans' tribe. But why I am talking about this isn't to broadcast my opinion, it's to explain that my situation is only one of many, and it's a consequence of this big divide. Nuances are thrown out of the window to favor agendas and broader, more extreme narratives. You, as a fan or a VTuber, are categorized based off of vibes, based off of the VTubers that you watch, and you are supposed to help the collective push the agenda even if there are things you disagree with on your own tribe. I remember back in the day, there used to be cross pollination between cultures. Holo and Twitch VTuber fans, for example, were like curious and generally welcoming citizens that wanted to meet with each other and see the sides of their nations. It used to be a big deal, and an entire event even, when a Hololive member would collab with a VShojo member or a Nijisanji EN member.
That's what it was. He said it. V Shoujo. I said it right. That was the one I was thinking. I couldn't remember the name where it was like a VTuber agency that like couldn't pay its creators or something like that, and so they eventually like had to shut down. That was the name. I just couldn't think of the name for some reason.
For example, do we all remember the Romeo and Juliet memes of Kiara and Pomo? But again, as time passed on, the differences grew too big. Incidents such as the big Nijisanji EN Discord leak, the V-Shoujo Nuxtaku situation, Salengate, the Wizard Game incident, and other politically laced drama created a sense of animosity between each other. And
Hmm.
yes, there are still traditional fans that like new VTubers and new VTuber fans that like traditional VTubers, but we rarely see cross-cultural pollination happen anymore. And I think that's a sad thing. Of course, between the traditional and new fans, they have their own sub-factions, right? Incidents like the Cinder Doki drew circles in the indie sphere, how that fandom doesn't even know if they should like Filian or not. The Holostars Axin and Sameko Sabadrot also tore a divide in the traditional group. Both are not as unified as you might think. I could draw a map of these groups of people, as well as their factions, but that would require me to go full autist mode and speculate like a motherfucker. Maybe I'll do that in another video or something. As a whole, these frequent clashes, these attempts to gain popularity, the disillusioned people who see the industry for what it is, culminate in the last D drama. Aside from political grifting, engagement baiting, copycatting, virtue signaling, aesthetic stealing, and goonerism, there is also drama farming. Now,
Oh yeah.
obviously, I'm part of this problem. I've been making videos about VTubing since late 2021, and I originally didn't start covering drama a lot. I was broadly focused towards commentary and recalling events, but during the big 2024, I pivoted somewhat. And now I stream at least once a week talking about the drama that happens in the industry, and I upload highlights and clips onto my second channel. I have a passion for autistically talking about issues, events, and wider topics about VTubing as a culture and medium. That's what my main channel is for. But me doing drama was a natural step in the pipeline. And the thing is, it's successful. In fact, it is so fucking successful
Yeah,
that sometimes even my highlights channel actually beats my main channel in terms of monthly viewership. But the thing is, I'm not the only one.
I think a lot of people just like drama. They like to just get involved in whatever the drama is that's going on, and so like there are a bunch of drama channels out there, and that's their sole purpose is to you know talk about drama and stuff like that. Like I don't necessarily talk about drama, um, or if I do, it's not like a main staple thing here.
One that did this, especially in 2024 and 2025. In fact, I would like to think I'm one of the slower ones. Kyo and False ID are gone, and some of the drama-hating parts of the industry celebrated that, but the thing is, they left a massive gap in the market. People that were worse or better were eventually going to replace them, and that gap, that demand, was filled in by creators like Kazahana and Lydia, fucking even Katliente to a certain extent. And that's only on the YouTube side of things. The drama coverage and discussion on the Twitter side is inarguably 100 times worse. On Twitter, it's not just drama and news tubers that talks about news and drama, it's fucking everyone.
Yeah,
Everyone has something to say about current event. So in VTubing, whenever something bad happens and if you're on the goddamn site, you're going to know or hear about it one way or another. And the sheer number of people drama peddling makes the negative air around the industry thicker. So much so that 1 week without major drama is actually a godsend. VTuber fans can actually breathe for a bit, and I actually get to watch some streams. Blocking people like me isn't really even enough to stop drama from appearing in your timeline at this point. Again, you will hear about drama one way or another.
yep,
Your timeline might even get full of it, and it's only a matter of time and topic that you will eventually participate in it as well. The main point of this particular D, the core of it, is that negativity sells. Agenda
yeah,
posting,
it does.
publicly throwing shade at people you don't like but did nothing to you, creating Google Docies for the most nothing burger issues, ignoring healthy communication with your peers so you can make a big stink about it, virtue signaling, and vague posting about the bad thing are all meta strats employed by VTubers big and small. Even the
I would no. I was also. I know he's primarily talking about VTubers and everything in this particular video, but that extends to people in general, whether they're online, streaming, or whatever. It does fall into that category as well, because you see it a whole lot. Like there's this whole trend going on with virtue signaling, talking about Marvel being racist because of several shows being canceled and stuff like that. That's a whole different can of worms to discuss at the moment. But yeah, generally, people do that,
ones that you
and,
know.
and there's always going to be a market for it. There's always going to be people who are going to farm drama, and there's always going to be people who are going to go and watch that drama.
Whether you want to admit it or not, a lot of VTubers start drama or exactly know what they're doing by saying or doing something inflammatory, whether for attention or for their own unspoken agenda. All of this compounds. Because people are having a difficult time gaining attention, there's going to be drama. Because people are disillusioned, there's going to be drama. Because people are divided, there is going to be drama. When the industry is filled and dominated by high school minded people, this
Mm.
becomes a toxic and deliberate self sustaining cycle. I think these are the main reasons why VTubing has become so negative. I'm sure you have something to say that I might have missed, but I think whatever you can think of will roughly fit into one of the 4Ds. Again, admittingly, I am part of this cycle, but I guarantee you 99% of the creators and fans in this space are all part of the cycle too. Many of the VTubers you like might have also politically grifted or currently is, might have also done bad engagement bait or sympathy or rage baits up till now, might have virtue signaled and still do, might have grandstanded and still do, might have started or peddled drama and still do. We just need to be a bit honest with ourselves. Everyone has sort of a hand in setting precedents that made the industry a tiny bit worse. Worse in this case is subjective, but the discussion of it still breathes that same air of conflict, of negativity. And I think that's why we can't go back to the way it used to be. We were just so optimistic and captured by the magical nature of VTubing, now we don't have that figurative anesthesia anymore. However, even if that's the case, there is still a way to engage in VTubing that might preserve a little bit of that magic if it's still on your person. And it's to uninstall Twitter. No, seriously, just yeah, uninstall Twitter. 99% of the drama comes from Twitter, okay?
It's
Or
fair.
heck, a less effective yet sort of valid way is to block people. You don't want to hear about drama, block it. You don't like certain VTubers, block them and their fans. Yeah. To a certain extent, the happiest remaining VTuber fans are the ones that are ignorant of the bullshit that is going on in Twitter and usually just stick to their own circles. Clip watchers who only watch the occasional VTuber clips or don't give too much of a fuck to delve deep into threads. Casuals who engage with a little bit of everyone. Stream watchers that focus their energy entirely on the VTuber and their group streams and only engage with the peers and community instead of everything else. Unironically, the one effective way that I've noticed the happier parts of the industry do is just to ignore everything else. No engaging with it, just
Yeah.
ignoring it. Try doing that in 2026. Focusing all your energy into having fun instead of anything else was unironically the source of positivity in 2020. The rest of the world was negative, especially with the pandemic, but VTubers allowed an outlet to be able to have fun by ignoring the world for a bit. In a sense, just do the same thing that we've all done before, albeit more deliberate this time. Despite the flawed nature of VTubing and its people, I still call it my home. There's a reason I keep coming back to it even after my 10th graduation slash hiatus. It's a fucked up place, but there's life here. It's still beautiful. There are still sights to behold, people to meet, subcultures and communities to explore, and 2D girls to simp for, obviously. So,
Mhm.
despite the absolute state of VTubing, I'm gonna stick around. And, I hope some of the people watching this video still do too.
That was very informative. That was a lot of stuff about VTubing that I didn't really know because I don't really delve too much into the VTubing arena except for just following specific VTubers. That was very interesting learning about all that. I'm glad I'm not a VTuber. That was a lot. But great video though. Very informative. It was able to to talk about the good and the bad of what VTubing is nowadays, what it was in back in the past, what it is now. Very informative video. I really, really liked it. But guys, that is basically it. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you guys for watching. If you are new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure you comment below. Tell me what you guys thought about the video. Who are some of your favorite VTubers? I'd very much love to hear about them. Obviously, drop that in the comment section. You can find me on the gaming channel, Kick, Twitch, Rumble, the Nerd Talk podcast on Spotify, and now Patreon as well. All that you can find down in the links below. But once again, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. And I will see everybody in the next video. Y'all have a good one.